What up, everybody? Welcome to Bleav in Rams, presented by Fanduel, your home for, of course, all things Rams this season. Erin Coscarelli back with you alongside my co-host, USA Today's Tyler Dragon in the house. Make sure to do all the things, guys. Subscribe, comment. You can find us on YouTube. You can catch our show airing on Fanduel TV SoCal every week this season. So really exciting. Also, make sure last week I had Andrew Whitworth on. Definitely worth a listen. If you haven't checked it out yet, he has a very close relationship with Coach McVay. You know, I asked him his particular thoughts on Matthew Stafford. He gave us some good thoughts and feedback. We talked a little bit about the offensive line. And I think the big question is for my guy, Tyler, will he or won't he be available week 1 of the regular season? Hi, Ty. That is the question I have for you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I mean, the season's right around the corner. It feels like it's getting closer. It still feels a little bit too far away for my liking, but I'm glad to know that football's around the corner. And it's the last week of the preseason.
Yep. Last week of the preseason. We'll get into that in a moment. I want to say, what is it? 19 days? Are we 19 days out from September 7th? Don't quote me on that. I'm terrible at math. This is why I talk for a living. But yesterday, Ty, I want to fill you in, catch you up. Of course, I was at the practice facility yesterday, Tuesday, and, back-to-back practices. He did a jog through at today. And one of the things that Coach McVay said after practice yesterday when he was at the podium with the media, he said, positive progress, taking a day at a time still. But it's about stacking these days together. How does that make you feel and how have you as a journalist tried to sort of write about this, cover this story? It's been an interesting, wild ride so far, just dating back from July 22nd when McVay told us they are going to hold him out for the first week of training camp. And then, here we are today where we're stacking his participation in practices.
So, man, it feels like this timeline is forever fluid, and my concern level has changed with the timeline. So when Stafford had his throwing session, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, and didn't feel great coming out of it, his body didn't respond well and did not participate in practice, I was more concerned than the Rams were letting on because, 37 years old, back injury. Backs don't really get better with rest. They can, I guess, but then if you get hit again, it's easy to re-aggravate the injury. But then after their preseason game against crosstown rival Chargers, I was a little bit more concerned because we hadn't heard from Sean McVay or Stafford or any other Rams coaching staff how the workout session went. And then lo and behold, Monday rolls around. The Rams sent out a tweet on social media, Stafford full pads, participating in practice. My concern level drops tremendously. And then it's like, okay, this is why the Rams were always optimistic, always sounded encouraged when Stafford was missing training camp practices. So I get what Sean McVay is saying. You want to stack multiple good days together because last time he had a good throwing session a few weeks ago, and he wasn't able to stack good days together. He had to miss the rest of the week because his back didn't respond well. So this is an encouraging sign. I don't think the Rams are out of the woods yet because, like I said, we're dealing with the 37-year-old who has a tender back, and this is before he's taken any hits whatsoever against defensive linemen that are 250, 300 plus pounds and linebackers. And so his back can get re-aggravated, simply put. But let's hope for the best. And right now, the Rams should be optimistic because Stafford is out there. He's practiced multiple days in a row now, and things are trending upwards. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, he looked good too in those social media posts that the Rams put. I saw it on Instagram. I mean, he looked like Stafford. And, coach was even saying the next day, the following day, which was the second day of Stafford's participation in practice, that he thought he looked really good. He looked like the Stafford that, we expect, but it's not game time speed, which is what he reiterated for the media when we were kind of trying to test whether or not he seemed okay. So then with what you're saying, your concern dropped considerably. Where is your level of concern now? Where was it before? And now filming today, where is it at?
So I was at like a 6 or a 7 before. Now I'm probably at like a 3.
Okay.
And the only reason I'm at a 3 is because the risk of re-injury, the risk of re-aggravating his back issue when he has to take hits. And unfortunately for the Rams, the first team that they play has a very good defensive line in the Houston Texans. So the Rams need to get their offensive line together in a hurry and be able to protect Stafford because they're going to come for him in week 1.
Yeah, and speaking of the Texans, if you go on Fanduel, the Rams are still favored by 2.5 at home.
Mm-hmm. As they should be.
As they should be. Of course, go check that out. There's some really interesting, favorable, bets or things you can make on that website. And I think it's interesting because favored 2.5 with a very aggressive pass rush and with Stafford sort of being up in the air with regards to, one of the things that coach has been saying since, I've been there the last few times, whether it was the joint practice against the Saints or practice yesterday, he keeps saying, we're still trying to get our hands on this and sort of grasp what it means. And does it feel like for you right now, the Rams are doing a sort of wait and see approach, basically put him out there, kind of give him what coach called good stress, and then sort of reevaluate how he feels? Because you're absolutely right. He hasn't been getting hit yet. This isn't game day speed. And with an aggravated disc, it's not like it just goes away with a little bit of infrared sun, light therapy.
Yeah, I mean, Sean McVay said it himself after Stafford's first practice this week that they were going to take it day by day and week by week. And that's the best approach because you never know if his back is going to respond negatively to workouts. More strenuous workouts, it could, or hopefully not for the Rams' sake. But as the Rams continue to ramp up towards the season, a lot of these practice sessions are going to get a little bit more difficult, especially for a quarterback when you're trying to get the timing right with new wideout Devontae Adams, trying to get develop your chemistry so you can start off week 1 strong and not be rusty when the Houston Texans come to town. So, yeah, I do think that's the right approach for Sean McVay and company to kind of take it day by day and week by week, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. And, stack days, make sure the Rams feel really good about Matthew Stafford before they put him in any type of situation. He's always reiterated the player comes first. The health of the player comes first. Right. Again, guys, Bleav in Rams. Erin Coscarelli with my guy, Tyler Dragon here, kind of breaking down what the scenario is for the quarterback situation. We're rapidly approaching week 1 against the Texans, the season opener at home for the Rams. And I guess my next question, and I'm sure Rams fans are curious about it, with it being a positive step in the right direction, let's run through a couple of potential scenarios here. Let's say he is good to go week 1 against the Texans. Back isn't an issue. He's out there. How much do you think him not being available, it is his 17th season. We know Stafford's a veteran, but there are new guys on offense and timing is everything. How much impact is his time away from practice training camp, you think has impacted the team?
I think it has impacted the team. However, he can make up some of that ground between now and the start of the regular season. To me, it's more for him because, yes, he's experienced. Yes, this is year 17 for him, and he's been through training camps. He knows Sean McVay's system, 5th season with the Rams. However, anytime you have a long layoff, I don't care what your profession is. Even you and I, if we didn't do this podcast for 3 weeks, we might be a little rusty going into it. If you're a teacher and you haven't, when you're done with summer vacation, going back into the classroom first time, you're not on your A game right there first day. So for everybody, no matter what profession you are, if it's your first day back after a while, whether it's because of injury, whether it's on vacation, whatever, you're going to be a little bit rusty. And for Stafford, not only has he not been practicing with that first string offense or with Davante Adams, he's not even been throwing because of his back injury. So he has some ground to make up. Sean McVay notoriously does not believe in playing starters in the preseason.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with him there. But then when it comes to the game time, this is going to be full speed. And you can't really replicate that in practice. You can't replicate that really in joint practices. Yeah. I mean, the most you can replicate in preseason. But the good thing about practices and joint practices in training camp, you can kind of do your best effort to kind of replicate game speed. And Stafford hadn't had that. So right now he's behind the 8 ball. But the good thing for the Rams and Stafford is it is still mid-August. We're pushing closer to the regular season. It's not September 7th yet. They still have time until that regular season debut. But yeah, I think it's more so going to affect him because of that rust, because of the timing with Davante Adams, who they don't have chemistry together right now, but they can build it. They definitely don't have game speed chemistry together. So it's more so affected towards Stafford because the rest of the players, they've been out there, even though it's been Jimmy Garoppolo throwing the football to them.
Yeah, and that's why, it's not exactly the same as an NFL game, but that's what McVay was always saying, that those joint practices are more valuable in terms of getting to look at the ones than the actual preseason game, because that's obviously an opportunity for him to take a look at the depth chart and who's going to make it in terms of their offensive line, what guys on the defensive side of the ball. It's an opportunity with those preseason games, but you better believe he's not putting a single starter in one of those preseason games because it's just too much of a risk. And we've seen how that movie's ended several times during the preseason when an injury, impacts the team and the offense. And it's a long season. And when I had Andrew Whitworth on, he's like, at the end of the day, it's the team that's maintained their health for the most part, the best, that tends to see the success at the end down the stretch because guys are healthy and they're available. And, one of the things that is appreciated or liked or revered about Stafford is his durability. And it feels like with this back situation, it's going to be the biggest test. It's going to be kind of an opportunity for him that he's going to maybe have to play through discomfort. And that was sort of the thing that I love. I love going to practices and filming McVay and pulling out his pearls of wisdom. He said discomfort. Oh no, he said growth demands discomfort. And it has felt like the theme for this team this season because you just can't map out what you don't know yet in terms of the uncertainty and the availability of Matthew Stafford. And I think, the best thing we can do as media is just try to sort of bring our our thoughts around, what we think the Rams are doing. They're going to protect Stafford. They're going to make sure his health is the priority. We saw this crazy, they called it the immortal, I don't know, looked like a big, Andrew Whitworth called it a giant beer can. It was hilarious. And, it was like a recovery vessel, if you will. And Stafford was in it during practice last week.
One of those.
You've been in one of them?
No, I want one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you have 200 grand? I think that's kind of the going rate these days for that.
No, I need to play Mega Millions.
Yeah, just go on FanDuel. Go make a couple of good little side bets. But, did you ever look into what that was in it, actually?
I did not, but I need to go to Rams practice over there in Woodland Hills to see if I can just tour and maybe try it out a little bit. I mean, I won't do any harm.
Yeah, Gary, it was so funny. Gary Klein of the LA Times was invited to go and check it out. I don't know if Coach was in jest offering that invitation. But yeah, I mean, look, when it comes to the Rams, they're very cutting edge with their technology, their recovery, Reggie Scott leading the way. And that's what the situation is. It's Matthew Stafford. They signed him to a 2-year deal. They need to play the guy. I mean, your thoughts on the season in the event Jimmy Garoppolo has to take some snaps? Is that oh, wow. Okay. For people that can't see this, Tyler's eyes got very big when I mentioned the J word.
So I will say this. Let me be optimistic and positive for a second. The Rams backups, I was at that preseason game against the Chargers. I know it doesn't count. It's just a preseason game. But the backups played pretty well, especially in the second half. Stetson Bennett was a highlight in that game, like over 300 yards passing. Brandon Presley had a really good game, 100 receiving yards, Xavier Smith, and so on. And that was a comeback rally win for the Rams. Doesn't count. But it's always good to just win because it builds confidence. It's a confidence booster. Good for morale. Good for practice the following day when you go over film session. You can see winning type plays in winning situations. So that is a positive thing. Now, on the negative side, I've seen Jimmy Garoppolo with the 49ers. Those were probably his best days. I've seen Jimmy Garoppolo with the Las Vegas Raiders. Those were some forgettable days. And we saw the receiver Netflix, and you saw how frustrated Davante Adams was when Jimmy Garoppolo was throwing footballs on the sideline, in the stands, in the dirt, 10 feet over his head, 3 feet wrong. Like, the Rams don't want that. Now, Garoppolo, I think he's a serviceable backup. But for where the Rams want to go, the Rams are one of the few teams in the NFC that can legitimately say that they are Super Bowl contenders. We say it all along. We were very close to seeing the Rams go to the Super Bowl. They had the Philadelphia Eagles on the brink of elimination in the snow with Matthew Stafford. Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to put you on the brink of a Super Bowl or put you in contention with all the best teams in NFC, whether it be the Commanders, the Eagles, the Lions, Vikings, so on, Packers. Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to get you there. You're going to need Stafford, a healthy Stafford, not 50%, not even 70% Stafford. You need him healthy with his back injury behind him to be able to compete with the upper echelon teams in NFC. That's not a knock against Stetson Bennett or not a knock against Jimmy Garoppolo, but let's just be real. They're not going to take you to the promised land.
I love it. I mean, it's you said it, a serviceable backup. That's what you hope to just sort of in the interim patch up in the event you need to give Stafford some much needed rest or give him a little time off to, and also too, it's not lost on me that we're seeing Jimmy G, which it's funny that he's partnered up with Davante based on what you were saying with regards to the little dynamic that they had when he was with the Raiders. But, the Raiders. The Raiders are not, the Rams are not the Raiders. And what I mean by that is, and maybe we'll see a different team from the Raiders this season. But what Sean McVay did with Baker Mayfield is a great example. He truly is the quarterback whisperer. I mean, he can really bring out the best in all of his players. And that's why guys want to come to LA. Forget the great weather. It's the positive environment that he curates, the culture within the four walls of the Rams facility that I think he brings out the best in each of his players. And I think it doesn't behoove us to go on and talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, because I think that is the last resort for the Rams. Mm-hmm. So we will move the ball forward and continue this dialogue that in the event Stafford is good to go, or maybe again, he has to just maintain and manage this aggravated disc injury. How do you see the run game changing? Or does it take on an earlier role in the beginning of the season? We got to hear from Mike LaFleur today at practice, and he was talking a little bit about Jarquez Hunter and what his role is, the offensive line and the depth there. What do you make of how this offense and the identity may look, or will it shift as they sort of get their hands around Stafford's situation?
So that's a great question, because one of the more fascinating questions heading into this season is if Sean McVay is going to continue to be 11 personnel dominant. That's his bread and butter personnel. However, last year we started to see a little shift, started to see a little bit more big packages and 12 personnel. And I Bleav this year he has the offensive personnel to really incorporate 12 personnel, running back, 2 tight ends, and 2 wide receivers, with the draft pick of Terrence Ferguson, with a Tyler Higbee. And then you have more big bodies there, can block a little bit better, and then you can run the football with a Kyren Williams, with a Blake Corum. Or what about have Blake Corum or Kyren Williams both in the backfield? Who would have thought? I've been clamoring for that since last year. It didn't happen. I would love for the Rams to have some type of packages where you have Kyren Williams and Blake Corum in the backfield, maybe in a shotgun formation, maybe in a pistol, or you can hand it off to both of them, depending on the defensive lineman, how you read the defense. I mean, there are so many ways Sean McVay can go with this, but when you look at the best players that the Rams have on offense, it's obviously Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, but then there's a little bit of a drop-off at receiver after them. And then you have Tyler Higbee. Then you have your second-round draft pick in Terrence Ferguson. Those could be your third and fourth best receiving options. So why don't you put them all in the field together at the same time in 12 personnel? It just seems like too good to be true. I think Sean McVay I know he's a smarter football coach than I am. So I think that's going to happen more often to not this season. You'll see a lot of 12 personnel for the Rams. And then I am praying, as a running back lover, as a former running back, dad play running back, I hope Kyren Williams and Blake Corum can be on the field together at the same time, and you can establish the run with 2 really good running backs.
Listen, we're going to package this show and we're going to send it to Sean, and we're going to just tell him, hey, listen, coach, we got a couple of ideas for you. Just thought maybe do this heading into the season, because I think that's fascinating. And yes, I think it's definitely interesting to talk about it right now, because I think the biggest thing most Rams fans will have is, what's that offense going to look like with a 37-year-old quarterback who's entering his 17th season in the NFL, who's got an aggravated disc? How will they try to overcompensate for this issue with, like you said, tons of playmakers on offense? Yeah, you mentioned Higbee. The Corum, Kyren 1-2 could be really fun to watch. And then, You mentioned Terrence Ferguson, who's now officially back. He was out, the rookie, dealing with a groin injury earlier this month. So very happy to get him back up and running, and hopefully he'll progress. As you know, rookies need a lot of those reps, especially with the speed being so different. And then, the Rams had to take on the Browns, the final preseason finale, if you will. And then, September 7th is right around the corner, guys. So
I'm excited for that game because of the Browns quarterback situation. Who's going to win that number 2 battle? So that should be interesting too.
Oh, yeah. Tune in to the preseason because, listen, I agree. I think the fact that the Rams now have stacked 2 wins, regardless of whether it's real, game simulated situations, it still builds a certain grit and confidence heading into the season that guys like Stetson or even Jarquez, who's been getting some reps, and Blake Corum, who we saw in that first preseason game, and that team is looking to not start slow again, which is what they've been their issue, especially last season, starting 1-4. Well, listen, any final thoughts? I'm going to be going to practice tomorrow. We're going to hear from Coach McVay, and you and I always stay in touch because I think the biggest question that media always asks Coach McVay right after practice is, how's Stafford feeling? As best he can. He does a great job trying to keep Stafford's situation as private as he can. And we expected yesterday, we thought we were going to hear from Stafford after practice. We did not. But he had said, you'll have to hear that from Stafford himself, which is good because that means we're going to end up probably hearing from Stafford maybe tomorrow. So I'll get you the tea and all the highlights of if we end up getting to hear from Stafford. But again, I think everybody's just concerned or very curious at the very least. What is Stafford feeling right now after stacking a couple of really solid practices?
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully Stafford talks. He has to talk at some point, right?
I know. He's definitely going to have to figure out, how am I going to handle all of these questions that the media has been just wondering since July 22nd, when Coach told us from the beginning that Stafford had sort of a lingering back situation and we didn't really know a whole lot. So, but the good news is Stafford looked really good, and it's something to build on. And like you said, he's got a lot of experience. It's not something you could just, put him right in, but I think he's got enough, cohesive, sort of experience with the team and Coach McVay that certainly that shouldn't be too much of a concern. So that's a wrap for us. Oh my goodness. It goes by so fast when you're talking about the Rams and quarterback juicy details. So, but yeah, hopefully he'll be feeling better tomorrow and we'll get more of an idea if he is going to be a for sure starter week 1 against the Texans. For Tyler Dragon, I'm Erin Coscarelli. This is Bleav in Rams, and presented by Fanduel. And by the way, let's see. I did have that the Rams are plus 130 to win by more than 13 points against the Texans. So again, I'm not great at math, but that means a $100 bet would return $230 if they cover that margin. And I'm willing to. I think that sounds like a slam dunk to me. What do you think?
Should we go on FanDuel and place a bet right now? Are we allowed to do that?
I think we can.
I think
actually.
so.
I think we can.
Okay.
Listen, that feels like a no-brainer. But yeah, definitely check it out. Bleav in Rams, presented by Fanduel. Go check out our YouTube. We are on all the socials. Subscribe, comment, rate, give us a little review, and let us know if you have any questions. We're always kind of perusing your comments and what you guys are saying out there in the Rams house atmosphere. So last game preseason against the Browns, and then we're here. All right, you guys, thanks for tuning in. Bye.